Okay, I'm calling this regular city commission meeting to order at 7 o'clock on April 21st at 7 p.m. And I guess I'd just like to say I feel honored to have so many in attendance. This is kind of rare. So hopefully we have a good meeting. I'd like everyone to rise. We have Pastor Dora here tonight. He's going to lead us in the prayer. And immediately afterward, we'll be saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm serving presently with Living Faith Lutheran Church, which is just down the block. And May 1st, we are looking at calling a pastor who will move to Marine City full-time and then serve. And good Lord willing, that will be sometime in June and maybe first part of July. Until that time, just keep the roads open between Richmond and Marine City so that I can make it here on time. I don't know if you're aware of, I just want to share just two quick thoughts. The impact that the churches have in Marine City. I'm thinking now particularly because I was connected with St. Peter's in Richmond and we had a school. So you have a school here at Holy Cross. And probably 20 times during the school year, there are activities that are Holy Cross that bring people from Lakeport, from Fairhaven, from Richmond, from Port Huron, from St. Clair, because there's Lutheran and Catholic schools there, and many of the sporting events are held here in Marine City. Just recently I was over for a couple of days. My granddaughter's in 8th grade and played volleyball, and so they had the volleyball tournament. I believe if they're still scheduled the way it is, the first 3 Saturdays in May, the track down the street is used by those schools. And so you begin to see Marine City as a destination for quite a number of things. And I sort of noticed that as I've been around. Also, I would extend to you the thank you, the commissioners, and to those in leadership positions within the city of Marine City. It seems to me, as I reflect in these times of national political, I don't know what you call it, but it certainly is a disturbing time or an unrest time, or who knows where the ball is going to drop. And then you start thinking of the things that happen at the state level, and all of that political unrest, it seems to me, eventually falls on the shoulders of you folks. Because a city commission, a mayor, a city manager, you begin to think of the people in places, and Washington doesn't listen to me, but I can speak to you almost directly. And so it may be at times that some of the frustrations, maybe there's unrealistic expectations at times, and you're aware of that. Or in a world in which we live, in which we can do selfies and have instant communication, then I expect instant results for every issue that I have. And it's kind of interesting to see we can't wait for a solution. We wanted to solve the Flint water crisis yesterday. And that's just an amazing thing to me as things have changed. Sometimes there's unwarranted distrust of people at the local level because we don't trust at the other levels, and that carries down to you, or there's accusations and dissatisfactions. And so I just want you to know that personally, since I've been serving in Marine City, I do keep you in the city in my prayers. I don't know many of you directly, but we do pray for your safety, your wealth, your health and well-being, and it's exciting to see some of the things that are happening that are very good. And our congregation at Living Faith is encouraged as well to continue to remember, and they're going to be here long after I'm gone. They'll be here, and so they need to continue to be supportive of what goes on. So we begin this night in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, triune God, in the beginning you created the heavens and the earth, the order of days, the times and the seasons, seed time and harvest. These continue to be in place. When you created mankind, male and female, you placed them in places of leadership and stewardship of your creation. With growing numbers and man's sinful self-centeredness, you gave order to daily life in families, local groups and communities, in nations and people. We thank you in this community for those in places of leadership, whether elected or appointed, or whether they are hired to fill such positions. Give them joy in their daily service. Give them listening ears with wisdom and understanding. And may they be heard by all with whom they communicate, so that the good of this community is carried forth. Bless and keep in safety those serving in the police, the fire, medical emergency, these responders who are there to respond to situations and circumstances when many times their life will be on the line. Watch over and protect young and old alike. May our schools provide an education preparing the young to live to lives of value and worth for the future. Keep all harmful persons and ideas out of this area, that each of us may live daily in peace, security, and service one to another for the betterment of this entire area and to be a blessing to each other. Bless our churches with pastors and people who proclaim your love and forgiveness through Jesus' death and his precious resurrection. And may that move us to lives of love and forgiveness. We ask this in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Terry. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That sounded like church, too. Roll call, please.
Mayor Skatarczyk.
Here.
Commissioner Avery.
Here.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Here.
Commissioner Lovett.
Here.
Commissioner Melly.
Here.
Commissioner Simpson.
Here.
Commissioner Turner.
Here.
City Manager Lovett. Here.
Move on to communications. We've got a letter from the county Board of Commissioners looking for people to host the meeting. And then we've got this other document here, 4B, which is pending City Commission agenda items, which Commissioner Simpson asked for at the last meeting, and I'm sure there's maybe some things on here that you don't see on the list, so if you want the list, anything added to the list, just let us know and we'll add it to it on a regular basis.
Make a motion to accept the communications and place on file.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
Just a quickie. Dave, would you like to put your fix-it ticket blight issue on there?
Yeah, that would be one of them. Something I brought up a couple times.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's probably a lot of stuff. Commissioner Avery?
This is a very good list, and since we have such a large group here, maybe the mayor would like to read this so people can see what we are
Well,
contemplating.
I can do that.
Thank you.
What this is Commissioner Simpson asked that, there's so many things that come up that we don't address immediately and that maybe could get forgotten, so he kind of wanted a running list of just things that aren't presently on the agenda but will be or should be at some point. And so far, right now on the list, we have the sidewalk program, we have the emergency plan mutual aid agreement, we have the pedestrian crossing ordinance, we have safe routes to school, chief of a police appointment, beach parking, tall ship dockage, East China School District land lease, ADA compliant city buildings. We got 108 North Water Street, the seawall, beach pavilion, 300 Broadway, SAW grant, business licenses, and another town hall meeting, and now the fix-it ticket, which is a way to help get blight cleaned up. So a lot to do, and we'll be chipping away at this list all summer long. And that's the first and last time I'll probably read it, because it's not going to change much.
Just want to say thank you to Elaine. I'm not sure if it's you or Chris who put it together, but I think it's really helpful, and I appreciate the extra effort. Thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Communications have been accepted. Moving on now to the public comment portion of the meeting. You're invited to come to the podium to address the commission. We ask that you state your name and address and keep your comments to under 5 minutes. And since there's so many people here, we're going to be very strict on that. So I'm going to ask you, as soon as you hear the bell, to stop talking. Would like to start us off. Mr. Haas?
Bill Haas, 203 Pleasant Street. Means we're on a strict 5-minute deal. We might as well start with one of your 11A agenda items. We were challenged to find some info. So I got some info for you. Reading material. As far as some of the other stuff, he had a post, Gary over here had a post on St. Clair that I called him out on because he was worried about tripping on the trees. And I told him, you're worried about tripping on the trees, but you should see the our city park there behind the water treatment with the cracks. They used to have the sawhorse up there, used to be expanded off. Well, if anybody's taken a walk, they've noticed the cracks. It's getting worse. And then he says, I've been harassed, threatened, and libeled. Well, I'm ready to go to state police if you'd like to go to the state police and take lie detector tests, bring my phone records from the cable, whatever we need to do. Because I know there's a Mr. Obvious. Whoever keeps right into the deal. We're on the same boat. Who are you? All right. I might as well hit this one next. Tifa. Why is our special bank account meetings held at 4 o'clock? Most people don't get back into town till 5:30 after working. That's so nobody can see who's on it, and nobody can see that, nobody can use it except the special interest and head of the DPW. So I'm kind of curious what's going on with why it's 5 o'clock. Need to put it back. Either that or put it on film so people can actually watch the thing. Because when you got money going somewhere, people would like to know where the money's going. I'm going to help you out a little bit with your sidewalk program, being as I've been parking my truck down street and walking home. My obvious choice for your sidewalk program is, let's start with the rental properties, 0% homestead. 222, 252 Pleasant Street, 433 Holland Street. We got 617 and 603 on Westminster. I've got, the city's got a lot of problems too on, the address didn't come up, but there's a lot of trees. On 330 Woodworth, the tree's a city problem that's ripped up somebody's cement. There's a house on 135, the only house that's got cement. And, the tree is whacked their 2 pieces of cement on the end. There's a bad one around the corner from the Heather house. Maybe if Mr. Avery walks to the north instead of coming into the south, he'll see where a big monster tree. I mean, there's some bad stuff. Like I said, that's some of the city, some of the people. But you might as well take these so-called business rental properties and, them and corner properties. And I got one across the street from me, empty lot, 656 Pearl Street. We don't even have a cutoff on the corner for a handicap ramp there. And some of the cutoffs, as you walk around town and look, where our DPWs come with their saw, pretty rough and crude. You think we'd have did a little better job on that. Yeah, another thing, Keith Jenkins last week made a good point. 2,500 properties, about I think he said about $3.60 a house. Me personally, I say we go $10 a house. We fence the beach off from Luann Douglas's house all the way to River Street. I see on Facebook all the time all these people, I live in Marine City, from Marine City. Well, no, you're from St. Clair, you're from Cotterville, you're from East China. Marine City's got the only beach. If we're going to be a big community, then we need to have, hey, Cotterville Township, $6,500. Hey, you, $6,500 for fencing it off. I imagine, it's pretty amazing going back to 11A for a minute about disturbing the community. And I'm just kind of curious, is it the Water Street community, which is hopping big time? We got Horse and Wagon Show. We got Chuck parking his food truck at City Hall. He wants to park his food truck at City Hall. Hey, more power to him. How about charging him $75 a weekend, paint this spot for him, give it to him? Why are we giving it away for free? You know, like I say, how long have I been telling you people we need to make some money? Giving the tickets. My people across the street from me, you know, the guy he was kind of off in his own little world somewhere, but, you know, oh, you got my boat. Dude, you're a rental property, you know. You ain't got no room. And that rental property at 222 where they have a back house, we have no sidewalk to get to the back house. So that's where these rental, because, you know, the Dumars, you got 124 North William, 135, I don't know if you're looking at the old sidewalks, they have 2 actual pieces instead of 1 piece. But I say we go after the rental properties. You know, you go walking around, you start looking, rental properties in corners, and you'll be amazed how nice the city will start looking again. And that's only in my section. I haven't come through the rest of the town. Tips and meetings. Oh, Mr. Simpson, the school board thing with our SEV problem. Oh, you got lucky on that one, did you? All right, have a good day.
There's a lot of people here who are trying to talk to.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Fisher, Marine City Fish Company, 240 South Water. First, I want to thank everybody for all their support through all the years. It's been almost 7.5 years in business here. I've seen the town grow in so many ways. Everything's been awesome. I look from 2008 to now, and the growth of this city has been amazing. Tumbleweeds, 2008 to totally now, going for a run Sunday morning, packed streets, amazing, so cool to see. Few things I think that I just like to address that I see a little bit of negativity going on in the city is community support. Where's the parking? Yeah, yes, we do need to figure that out. But my thing is, go to a small busy city or a larger city. You go down to Ferndale, go down to Royal Oak, go down to Rochester, go down to any small town. They find a place to park if they find a destination. Yes, I do think it's becoming a problem with the new businesses coming in, but also we need help and support from our community and where we pay taxes and everything to help us. Where do these people roll over? But I also notice on busy nights, I walk home, packed streets, Market Street open, Washington open. Walking a few blocks is not going to hurt people. If people like to go places, they walk. And that I think that is, we do need to justify that for part of it. But I do think to see this coming forward city growing, I do think, yeah, maybe we all need to brainstorm and stop having these, well, if the city's too busy or this, or there's no place to park, that's an awesome thing. And anybody that thinks that is a negative thing is out of their mind, and that's my opinion. But I think we need to grow, we need to seek the city. And you know what? We have worked from $300 in our bank account from one side of the business to another, just in ours and other expanding businesses. And we would be silly to keep our minds closed. There is a problem that I am personally having that I know that other places opening businesses are having, and I know you guys are trying to address it, but our city inspector. Unprofessional, I'm sorry to say, but 2 months to get a permit approved for whether you're trying to open a business, you're trying to flip a home, all of that, that's everybody's livelihood. And we need to be considerate of that. If they only have a pile of papers on their desks this high, but only working 4 to 6 hours, and that's not exact numbers, but then we need to consider how can we get these people to grow, and how can we get these people to maybe work a few more hours or actually be interested in the position to flow these businesses to open. Because I'm sorry, when I opened my business, there wasn't much there to open, and 1 month makes a whole lot difference. And I think that needs to be just kind of a consideration for somebody that's going to be interviewed for this next position. Brian, we miss you, but the next person that comes in, I'm sure will do a great job. But I think maybe, just my opinion, maybe we need to think about maybe another day there, or maybe a couple more hours that that person comes in to take away that big chunk. My concern on my next growth, we got approved last year for all of our addition stuff, but now we're going into permit mode, and this is something that, we are looking to pop open by summer, so we can grow not just our business, our community, our neighbors, our antique shops, our competing businesses, our other food businesses, all the new things that are opening in the town. We need to help support, and that is only done by keeping people in this town. And it is cool to think out of the box of only Marine City or the locals. I am seeing crazy amount of growth in this city from people that are driving an hour and a half, not just to come to my business, but to check out the businesses. And for us to stop that is just insane. And I think that's where we need to stay focused on growing this town. It can be a Lexington, it can be a Traverse City, it can be better than all that. But we need the strength, and we need to work as a community. And I think that's where we lack sometimes the closed-minded thinking of, uh-oh, the town's growing, we're gonna get scared. No, let's open that up. Let's use our brains. Let's think, okay, there's a stack. These people want to open their businesses. What do? We work a few more hours. And I understand everything's got to be in budget and this and that. So that's a little out of my touch that I have not studied upon. But that's just what I feel on people growing. So thank you for your time.
Melissa, I'd just like to point out that our city manager inherited that inspector, so I have confidence she will do a better job of selection.
I like that.
Do we have anyone else that would come to the podium?
Gary Coes, the Mariner, 430 Water Street. Just some comments in the public comment, only from the standpoint of trying to be helpful. We've interfaced now with a couple of council members here and some other issues outside this, and it's been a phenomenal experience because things are getting done. There's some issues in the community I think have to be addressed, and pretty soon before the big summer flow. If last weekend is any indication of what's going to happen, if you were downtown, you wouldn't believe it. And it's just going to grow from that point forward. The crosswalks were mentioned, and I don't know how many people here realize that if you walk into a crosswalk in downtown and there's a car coming and it hits you, it's your fault. Because there's no state law that says a car has to stop in a crosswalk. It's a city ordinance. And we had the discussion with the mayor on this subject. And if it would speed things along, I would suggest that maybe private sector step in to help draft this, working with a commissioner, because everybody's overworked and the city doesn't really have the staff to do these kinds of things. Let the private sector or the Chamber of Commerce step in and get legislation from other communities and work with a member of this body to bring it to this body. And it might short circuit things and make things happen faster in that regard. Parking. There's a Google app, if you Google it, for Marine City parking. It's not there, but there is an app there that if you Google it, it'll tell you where you can park. Now, we hear about all this traffic downtown and no place to park. Yeah, that's right. Water Street's getting pretty busy, and so is Broadway. But if you walk one block to the west, there's plenty of parking. But nobody knows that. Again, maybe the same group working on Crossworks, with one of your people, can draft a parking plan with signs and everything, and where they can be placed. Maybe that's with DPW. And if there's no money for the signs, we'll get the money for the signs. But that would solve the problem almost immediately. And I think all this can be done by the next council meeting. So I'm proposing that you consider that approach to it. This week we've had busloads of people coming to the Mariner from more than an hour away. First time to Marine City for every group. And they come into the Mariner, and of course, the Mariner is the Titanic exhibit. And Titanic was founded to give back, never to profit from a tragedy. So that money's been going back into the city, which you'll see later. And it will continue to go back into programs that we select that benefit the city. So therefore, we have an issue, and nobody can answer it in City Hall, is we had a group of handicapped people come in. There was no place for them to park their bus to unload. Now, we have cones, but we don't know what the law is and what the restrictions are for putting those cones out to reserve the space for people to load and unload, especially if they're handicapped, because we're very conscious of the handicap. So therefore, I don't know what we have to do about that, but if we could throw that into this committee and then report back to you, working with a volunteer on this board, then I think that would short-circuit the process and get things done much faster without any expense to the city or time. So those are the issues I have in the public comment, and I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Joe Moran, 710 Pleasant Street. A couple of quick things to hit on tonight, sort of like Mr. Coase. A few weeks ago, I attended a series of seminars put on by SEMCOG for municipal planners, and attended one presentation called The 7 Habits of Highly Walkable Cities. Come to find out, Marine City is a highly walkable city, which is a good thing to have. Highly walkable cities are cities that are growing. They're cities that are seeing their property values grow. They're cities that are laid out for people and not for cars. And I think if you look at the difference between Marine City and St. Clair, for example, St. Clair's laid out for cars, not for people. The issue before the board tonight has to do with trees, and it turns out that trees are a critical component of highly walkable cities. Not only are they pleasing to the eye and increase the quality of life, they provide shade for strollers, enabling people to take a moment, stand in the shade, and maybe look into a shop window for longer than they would normally. They provide shade for people to sit out and dine. And as you notice, we have more facilities here in town that are going that route. They're putting tables out in front so that people can sit and eat. The interesting thing that I found out was that trees also slow traffic. It has a psychological effect on the drivers. They perceive things out of their peripheral vision, and it also causes them to slow down. Our boulevard on Broadway also has the same effect. It causes drivers to slow down. So these are things that we need to keep and cultivate. It's not just, I'm a tree lover and you're not. There is hard data that supports having trees in highly walkable communities. So that's something to consider when you have your discussion later. Ms. Coase and Melissa both mentioned the parking problem. We do not have a parking problem. We have a parking management problem. And the suggestions Mr. Coase made, we've heard before about putting signage up, letting people know that there's ample parking on the side streets. And heavens to Murgatroyd, people, if you have to walk a block, it's good for you. We recently had an election. I personally found it disappointing, but people came out and spoke their minds, and that was a good thing. What is most disappointing to me is the fact that only two-thirds of our population, voting population, did not come out and vote. I think that's disgraceful, particularly since the issue at hand was something of vital importance to the continuation of the city. as a commission, I think you guys should start putting your noodles together and try to figure out some way to incentivize people coming to vote, a la the Australian method where they provide people that come to vote, they get their tax refunds. People that don't. We need to find something like maybe rebating certain percentage on somebody's water bill if they come out and they vote consistently. Now, I don't know if that's legal, but it's a place to start so that people figure out, okay, well, it's worth my while. Maybe I'll come out and vote. I'm glad I have a project list here that you brought up, and I'm glad to see that we did something about that. Great. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the sirens went off. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been trained, if it's not 1 o'clock on Saturday, when that siren goes off, there's an emergency. The next time you do that, you got a PA system that goes along with that. Broadcast over that PA system, this is a test. So people are not scurrying around figuring out where the heck the tornado is. I'm going to save this one. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Guys, you might not recognize me because I'm from Canada. Is it okay if I say a couple words?
This all needs your name and address.
Tim Kozacek from Brights Grove, Ontario. So my wife and I have been coming here for about 25 years, and what did we do 25 years ago? We would engrave our name on a picnic table at one of your establishments. But we're not sure what else we did in this town back then, but I'm only going to be 1 minute here. I just want to say thank you that you guys have turned this town around, and we find it just very enjoyable to come here, and we don't see any issues with parking or anything. It's just great. There's so many things to do now. And we still go to the picnic table. That's all I wanted to say. I just think you guys are doing a great job.
Taking all the parking spots.
I just walked.
Keith Jenkin, 809 Water. I just received an invoice for a damaged picnic table from Mr. Richardson, DPW, and I think we can finally fix that table. That's not why I came here. I just want to second Mr. Moran's little blurb about the trees. When I was on the TIFA board, we instituted the streetscape, and one thing that the landscape architect kept harping on is to put the trees in the boulevard. There was a little faction in town that wanted to leave it open so you could see a freighter go by if you were at the light, but we didn't do that. And that's his reason for the trees was that it calms traffic. I thought that was a good word to describe it, and it really does. I mean, if you drive there and the trees are in your peripheral vision, it does have a tendency to make you slow down. Lastly, since this is like a mutual admiration society tonight, I just wanted to tell you that I accidentally went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting on Tuesday. I say accidentally because I'm in the chamber. I'm a member of the chamber, but I'd forgotten that there was a mixer there. And I was taking my daughter to dinner, and I saw a red Corvette parked out there, so that's where I decided to eat. And when I went in, it was packed. But the conversation, of course, turns to politics, as usual, with the business owners. And almost to a person, everybody was very pleased with what the mayor and the commission has been doing here. And lots of people were stating that they hope that politics, the division, calms down someday so that we can get a lot more done. But on behalf of the chamber, I guess I'll thank you guys. Thank you.
Rosalie Squires, 211 Michigan. I just want to remind everybody that one of our citizens that used to come to these meetings, he'd probably be here tonight, for things like this was Mr. Smith, Martin Smith. Some people called him Smitty. A lot of people called him Mr. Smith. Has passed on and is laid out tomorrow at Brower Rose, and his funeral is on Saturday. He was a really good citizen. He always cared about our community, and he came out to a lot of these meetings, so my condolences go out to the family. We do have a parking problem downtown, and I know it's nice to say, well, you know, I never have a problem, I can walk, but if you're not so able-bodied, it is hard to walk downtown, and you really hate when you go down there and you really want to park and you really want to buy something, and you just have to drive away because there's no parking. And you know, I don't think we're Royal Oak or we're Ann Arbor or Traverse City. If you really would look at the numbers of that community, I mean, they're like, some of those cities are so big, they have more population than this whole county. So I don't think we're really going to be like those places. And I don't think we want to be like those places. I think we really want to be like Marine City. And I think that that's something that we have to do. We have to start knowing who we are as Marine City instead of duplicating everybody else. But there is something that disturbs me. If I could get into City Hall to look at the records, but with my disability at this point in my life, I can't, because I can't open the door and go up the stairs, I'd look back on Tifa records, and I could look back in the billing, and I pretty well, my memory serves me right, that it's about 2006 or 2007, we gave $800 for 2 trees to Wiegand's, and then the DPW workers put them in. And I believe that would be about 10 years ago. And those trees are down now. So I think we need to be a lot wiser with that kind of spending. That's kind of stupid to put things in and take it out. We've done that a lot downtown in 11 years. And I wish I could document this. If I could get to those record books and look at the minutes, I probably could document it more thoroughly. But just by memory, in the last 11 years, we put flowers in, then we took them out around the trees. Then we put pavers in. We didn't like those, so we took the pavers out. And, you know, I don't know what happened to the pavers, but so the pavers are gone, and those are expensive. Then we put flowers in again. Then we put trees on. Now the trees are gone. You know, this all might be nice, but, you know, we really need to have a longer plan than, I think, to spend $400 for each tree and less than 10 years to remove that tree is a little ridiculous. So I just would like a more wise spending of the money. Thank you very much.
I see a hand, come on up.
I couldn't see the face, but I saw a hand.
Hi, I'm Joan DeRue at 256 South Water Street. I have the quilt shop. I have a business in town, and I've noticed about the removal of the trees in Marine City. And as a business owner, I thought I was going to try to do it every year, but I thought if each business put back to the city and tried to do something and to improve the city, it would be great, just making our city a better city. So about 4 years ago, there were 53 trees in Marine City. I planted 212 perennials. I went to the Tifa board, got permission, had to bring a plan and go to 3 different greenhouses, and they gave me a little over $1,000. I purchased the plants, planted 4 around each of the trees in Marine City. On the inside, they were hostas because they're high acidity. That way, if the dogs urinated on them, they would continue to grow. And on the roadside, I did 2 daylilies. And it was a lot of work. When I got to the last block, I had a brownie troop help me. You know, we were running out of energy. And one day I came outside and noticed that all the trees were being dug up, along with the plants that I planted. So I walked over across the street to the city manager, and I asked, what's going on? And she said that they've had some lawsuits against the city, which is understandable, but I was a little disappointed that there wasn't much communication, because this was money that our city got for the improvement of the city, and the plants were just going to be killed and die, and there would be just another loss. And so I talked to the city manager, and I have 8 plants behind the quilt shop right now. I don't know what happened to the rest of them, but I was just hoping that we could open up the lines of communication a little bit better in the future. So when we're trying to make improvements, that it's not a total loss for everyone, So, just a little bit disappointed. Each year, I thought it would be great if a business owner would try to do something to improve the city, and this is just one of the things that I tried to do. I've also asked questions about the parking issue, and I don't know if this is a possibility, but I noticed a lot of the employees and business owners that work in the city park on the city streets. I guess a long time ago, I don't know if it was like 20 or 30 years ago, but they had an ordinance in Marine City that if you worked or owned buildings in Marine City, you had to park on a back parking lot or the back streets so that would free up for people that were coming to visit our town, and that might be helpful. I don't know. It's just an idea I thought I'd throw out there. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Have anyone else? Going once, going twice. It's not closed yet. I've got a letter here from the Marine City Garden Club. It's addressed to me and the Tifa board, and I said I would read this into the record for them during the public comment. And it starts out with, Dear Sirs, the Marine City Garden Club strongly supports the Marine City efforts to replant new trees along Water Street. We have been saddened by the removal of the current trees. However, we completely agree that the city's decision to remove the trees was correct. We believe the trees had not been trimmed properly, and they would have likely not survived. We would like to recommend that new trees be planted again. We feel that the downtown business district is visually enhanced with the addition of the trees. Also, the trees provide shade for pedestrians throughout the hot summer months, which encourages our residents and visitors to shop downtown Marine City and enjoy our beautiful parks along Water Street. As you know, the Marine City Garden Club has been working towards the beautification of Marine City by planting and maintaining flower beds all over the city, as well as spearheading the yearly hanging basket project and flower barrels. We believe that the planting of flowers, trees, and shrubs truly has been an asset to our city and has helped revigorate the entire area. We understand the dilemma of selecting a perfect tree for the area. Downtown residents are concerned about trees blocking their view of the river, and businesses are concerned about the trees blocking their signage. We would encourage your committee to weigh the plus and minuses of different species, color, height, flower, berry, seed, root systems, leaf coverage, all must be considered. And without reconsidering changing the current zoning height restriction, you may be limited to what is available and find you can only select a smaller type tree. By removing the current height restriction, you may find that a taller tree, one that would have the leaf system above the buildings, might help you avoid blocking the view and signage. In addition, the public/private aspect of this project is to be applauded. It is encouraged that Water Street businesses have stepped forward to financially help with this project. Our past experience has found that the businesses of Water Street have always supported our efforts to beautify our downtown through plants and trees. We would like to offer our expertise to your endeavor. I'm just learning how to read. Please feel free to call us. Judy Jobin, President, and she has her phone number here. Sincerely yours, Judy Jobin, Jeannie Frank, Sue Jenkins, Georgia Phelan, Pat Bibchek,
B-Buck,
Kathy Moran, Patricia McKellar, Heather Bachram, and Scheller Zimmer. Unless somebody else has something else, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the meeting. All right. Moving on to the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Support. We have motion and support. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's been approved. Item 7A is the approval of the minutes, the regular City Commission meeting of April 7th.
I move to approve the City Commission regular meeting minutes from April 7th, 2016 as presented.
Support?
We have motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes have been approved. Moving on to onto the consent agenda. We have item 8A, which is departmental activity reports. Item 8B, which is the Marine City Fire Authority run report and agenda packet. We have item 8C, which is election commission February 4th minutes. We have item 8D, which is zoning board of appeals March 2nd minutes. We have item 8E, which is planning commission March 14 minutes. We have item 8F, which is a special event, Bayside Flea Market. And we have item 8G, which is a special event, Spring Flea Market.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support?
We have motion and support. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Simpson?
This is for our city manager, which you can ask. The Xeroxes of the event applications for the various flea markets, they indicate some of the stuff was highlighted in yellow. I think I just got a bad copy because some of the yellow is very light and some of the things are X'd off. I just, particularly, I wanted to make sure that the Chambers Market is not happening or conflicting with the other event. I just want to make sure that we're supporting both events and we're not, allowing one to take business from the other.
The highlighted one for the, We're on different days. They cross that out. Now the change.
Okay, mine has the calendar, and mine is very squiggly and has about 6 dates X'd out, and they reference highlights in yellow, and I got some that I can't tell if the
If you'd
highlight.
like to read it on
Yes, sir.
this is very clear.
Yeah.
If you're using the digital copy, it's very
Yeah,
clear.
mine got disconnected 6 times in the past 2 days from the city server.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
But it's very clear on the digital copy.
This is what he's talking about.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that that wasn't a conflict of interest.
Anything else?
That was the same question, exactly same question I had.
What the dates were? To make sure
Yes,
they
that we're not, having the Bayside Flea Market and the Spring Flea Market from the Chamber of Commerce, at the same time. It looks like they're both, one is May 14th and the other is highlighted, I'm sorry, I don't have it written.
May 21st and 22nd.
May 21st, are those the 2 dates? One asks for a September date and then,
In the past.
it was confusing.
In the past, the chamber asked for multiple dates, but this one is just for May 14th.
Okay.
And I checked it, and it looks like Bayside did have May 14th, but they crossed it out. They may have checked with the chamber, and they went on to the next weekend.
So one on one weekend and one on the next.
Yeah.
That was,
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda has been approved. Thank you, board. On to item 10A under unfinished business, the Water Street trees discussion, which I kind of feel has got on the way a little bit already based on public comment. And when I left the meeting, our last meeting, I said I was going to seek out public comment, and I did so by spending time walking up and down Water Street, talking to a lot of business owners. I also did a unofficial poll on Facebook. And the Facebook poll was basically 3-to-1 in favor of trees again. Generally, all the comments I've received are been in favor of putting the trees back in. And just my own personal observations over the last 2 weeks and just looking at the city and how the appearance is, I'm also strongly recommending that we move forward to put trees back in again. I also did a fair amount of research, a lot of reading, and the one thing I discovered in the reading is that I don't want to be the person to suggest which tree gets planted. Because I feel like less qualified now than after, 2 or 3 nights of reading. I did read on a couple of things that were touched. One of them was touched in the letter from the Garden Club, and I believe what went wrong with our trees is that we kept topping them. And I think that's really what led to their, really ugly appearance and some of them dying out. And I've also got a couple of nice articles. I forwarded one to Elaine, and I found another. I should get them to all of you. And it was just about how trees enhance the business district, how they're good for business, and just in general, it's a win-win if you do put trees in. But they recommend actually trees that grow taller, and that you would, trim the understory instead of topping them. So, yeah, and so I'm gonna let the discussion go after I said my piece, and those are some things to think about, and I had another point, but I lost it, so I'm just open to discussion.
What was your feedback from the business people?
I never talked to one person that didn't want a tree. Some of the comments I got on Facebook were, well, I'm getting used to it now without the trees, I guess it's not so bad. But in general, no one was really strongly opposed to putting the trees back in, but a lot of people were eager to see them some kind of tree go back in. Commissioner Simpson?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people, as many businesses as I could, but a lot of people called and emailed about it as well. And, one of the things people said is, the way we went about it wasn't preferred, but after they found out why and those types of issues, people generally said, okay, we made the right decision. But I found a lot of people were supportive of the trees, but then they kind of agreed that, the selection process, they couldn't recommend, what kind of tree, and they said that could get very dicey very quickly. So by far, most people I spoke with were in favor of putting at least some trees back, maybe not necessarily all of them. That's one of the questions I had was, do we put all of them? Do we space them out less frequently? And they said that they could certainly see that is a solution for us too, but most of them just sort of implored us to have a really good selection process that, speaks on, less on internet reading and more on, discussing things with arborists and those types of things to make sure that it's just the right fit for, to sort of eliminate some of the issues that we did have, the root systems and the topping issues and those things. So that's...
There's actually a specialty now called urban forestry, believe it or not. Commissioner Hendrick?
I agree. I did a lot of research, and I know it's hard with the trees. But one thing, all ornamental pears, and I never knew this either, because I know we have a lot of them, and they're always recommended. And I think there's been a lot more work done on them. And what's happening with the ornamental pears, and now numerous states have banned them as an invasive species. Okay, so like Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky's going to get rid of them, Missouri has. And what the problem is that like the two different types of pears, if you have a Cleveland and a Bradford, they cross-pollinate. And then what happens is they create a seed. The bird eats the seed, takes the seed, drops the seed. This new tree grows, and what they come out with is all these big thorns, and they take over the areas that they found, and you can't even walk through them. So I think one of the things I think our area has learned is from the Phragmites. I mean, we all know what happened with that. And it was really interesting to find out. I've got here 7 different sites, and they all talk about the horror stories of what's happening with those trees. Nobody knew it at the time. A lot of people are still recommending, the box stores are still selling them, but that particular tree is being told not to plant. So, then you ask for a list. So I went out and I found that the city of Chicago has a beautiful list. They don't recommend pears at all, but they have a beautiful list, and it's all categorized of all the different trees that they're allowing that you can use, the heights, the zones. It's really nice. And what they do is they have a forestry person right on site, and if a person in Chicago wants a tree, they send the forestry person out, they research the area, they recommend trees that they can pick, and then they can do that. So this is one list that I did find, that might be helpful.
There's one I got similar from New York.
I saw that one too,
Yeah,
and Boston's got one.
Right, so,
But I thought this one was kind of closer to us, and, but like I said at the end here, for the pears, again, they say here, the species may be invasive and should not be planted in or adjacent to naturalized areas, because what they do is they take over. And until you read it, you don't know. You know, when we planted all those trees down Parker there, nobody knew that at the time. But they've come a real problem in state after state. So I would just recommend we start looking at this and talk to arborists or the MSU Extension, somebody, and maybe create a committee where we can sit down and start coming up with some of the things to do. So we need to do proper research. I think we need to develop a better plan for selection and use these types of things so that we can have multiple selections. And we have to look at a better proposal to make sure that everybody's in agreement. Maybe a business owner can do the same thing. I think they had a form online, and then you fill it out, and then they help you with it. But I think we just got to be better organized on, if we're going to do this, let's do it right this time and try to get the right trees and the right stuff in there, and that maybe spread out. I know, Mike, you said you wanted to spread out more and not have quite so many, which...
We also need to put them in between the parking spots, not in the middle of the parking spot.
Yes, because of the doors, yeah, everybody opening, yeah. And I agree with you on the height, that the height probably is the better way to go. And so maybe there's some good stuff we can get out of this. But I think we need some arborist people to help us with
that's
that.
what my recommendation was gonna be after everyone had to say. I think we should, reach out maybe to the colleges, universities, see if we can get some free advice. I know free advice.
Service from Michigan State, you can go right to the county, they have an office up at the county building.
Right. We did talk about that. So, Ray, do you join in?
I agree with I'm not going to repeat what everyone said. I think there's some very good information there. I think, though, that we need to give this back to our department, our director, superintendent of the DPW, Mr. Ittrich, to work with the Garden Club to come up with that. I think that we do need trees. I liked this idea. I spoke with him also about, avoiding trees where in the middle of the parking lot where you open your car door and you hit a tree, and not being directly in front of a door at a business, et cetera, so that, Mike is very aware of all of that. I'm sure the Garden Department would like to work with him and let it go back. And just a reminder, this whole discussion began back on October 26, 2015, TIFA minutes. That was a special meeting that discussed all of these issues back then, so it was not a new idea.
Anyone else? Commissioner Avery?
Just a short one that has, not trying to contradict anything here because I don't wish to. Just a thought that if we look for higher trees, what does it do to the root structure? That's the problem because we have trouble.
That's why I said I don't want to be the one making the recommendation. There are all kinds of trees that do different things and they fit different applications. But the one thing I can tell you for sure, there is no perfect tree. It is a living thing that's going to have some kind of a negative aspect to it. Commissioner Simpson?
I just want to say, if it seems like we should maybe be reviewing the ordinance in regards to tree heights or anything else that we might have when this comes back to us. I just want to make a request that if we could have that information available, if this in the next time this comes up to us in a board packet, because maybe procedurally we should revisit that ordinance first. That it just seems to me that should probably be addressed at the same time. If not the ordinance,
if you're not going to change the ordinance, then that's going to have an effect on the trees.
Exactly. So I think just like we've always said, the two kind of go together. So if we could have that at least spelled out in front of us, if it's just the one ordinance or if others apply, I think that's an important thing to look at if we need to revisit those or revise those.
I think it's a relatively new ordinance too. So.
I forgot also to mention, and it's going out of my head. Oh, we have more than a downtown, Main Street. Water Street is not the only street in this community. We need to consider trees also down Broadway and coming down Parker Street. We have the beautiful trees going out to the Kmart Plaza, but, you know, we need to also beautify the rest of our city as well. That it's one city, it's not just Water Street.
There's some Water Street trees that were just cut down, so.
There aren't any trees in the other areas.
Yeah, I think, you know, I know the original ordinance says for most of the streets that if somebody wants to plant one between the sidewalk and the curb, you should only plant certain ones because they don't want real large maples and stuff. So yeah, that should be included, but you're right, we definitely, it needs to be addressed to the whole city, not just the downtown.
Commissioner Melly.
One thing that I did get encountered was that people did tell me that once upon a time, Marine City had awnings. The businesses all had awnings where they were retractable and they came out. And something about historical, you know, if you wanted to bring back awnings as an alternative.
That's really, in most city plans, not recommended. It kind of isn't that visually appealing, and it has some, it's not really good for walkability and stuff. It's kind of something they're trying to get away from.
But I'm, you know, referring to they were retractable, so at night or whatever that it's opened up, that's all. I mean, I just...
Well, does somebody want to form a motion of some type? I mean, we got two things here. We want to revisit the ordinance. So do you want to put a motion together, or just, you want me to just put that on the agenda? I guess we'll just put that on the next agenda. But as far as...
I think I have a recommendation, I don't know if it even needs to be a motion, but I would move to refer some additional tree research back to the city manager and the director of DPW to see if we can get some more experts involved in that, and request that we would, when we review it as a city commission, that we would have the ordinances that pertain to trees specifically downtown.
I guess I would want to, I'd like to see the commission vote on whether or not we're actually in favor of replanting trees. You know, I think that's important now, because at the last meeting, we kind of left it out there, you know, that we weren't going to. So why do anything else if we're still not going to be in favor of replanting trees? Commissioner Avery?
I make a motion that we plant trees on Water Street to replace the trees that are down, but it's done in conjunction with this committee effort that we're discussing now. So you have something to vote on.
Can I throw one thing in there? That it's also up to the business owner too. I mean, we want to make sure that they want it. So if there's somebody...
Well, that'll get pretty sticky.
Well, I think it's up to them too if they want a tree.
Well, we have a
They
motion.
should have some input.
There's no support for either.
Are you gonna, is there any support for that motion? No, so you just want to let it lie? Well, you know, I'll support the motion. So the motion on the floor is basically just support from the commission that we're in favor of replanting the trees. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sounds unanimous, so.
Now, are we going to have a motion to go after the ordinance too?
The ordinance, we'll put on the, we'll just put on the agenda for the next meeting.
I think it just remains unfinished business.
Yeah, we'll just put that, we'll just make sure we have that ordinance for review on the next agenda. And then as far as the selection process, I think it's pretty clear that we're looking for some expert help in this, so
yes,
if you could.
I'll give you this too later.
I'll work on putting something together.
And I know Mr. Coe said something about citizen board assisting in this stuff, so if there's people out there that have expertise in this, feel free to contact the city manager and let her know you're willing to lend your support. All right, moving on to item 11A, which is new business, beach attendant fundraiser, and that would be Mr. Coe's.
There he goes, the Mariner, 430 Water Street. I'm here to talk about the beach fundraiser. But more importantly, I'm here to talk about a much bigger concept. And let me give you a little background. I grew up in Northville, Michigan, a town about the size of Marine City. I worked on the assembly plant, got high school in the summers, and put myself through Notre Dame. I started my company at Notre Dame, graduated, and began a company called Marketing Corporation of America. I've been in the marketing business for 50 years, and I will tell you tonight that what I'm about to say is kind of aimed at the vocal minority in this town. And my hope tonight was to get the silent majority up and listening, because there's some grand opportunities for this town, and we love this town. It's just the greatest place you could ever imagine. So I've been 50 years in the marketing business. My success in the marketing business has been seeing the obvious. And after the program's successful, people will say, anybody could have done that. That's right, anybody could have done that. But they didn't. I see the end result, and I reverse engineer it to a starting point. I just have a knack for that. And therefore, I don't share it with anyone until it's all worked out and I know it's going to be successful. And only then will I present it. And the worst thing you can do is present it to a committee, because you'll present the concept, you know it's going to work. And this person will say, yeah, that's a great idea. And this person will say, yeah, that's a great idea, but I don't like him. Another person will say, I don't like it. Another person will say, God, that's a great idea. I wonder how I can make it mine. And throughout my marketing career, it only took me about 2 programs to realize what was going on. And then we landed the Datsun account. And I was 23 years old when that was Nissan. When the chairman of the board from Datsun called me and said, we would like to talk to you, because Detroit wouldn't. And 23 years old, I get on a plane to go to California, and Mr. Katayama, the chairman of Datsun, said, we do business here Japanese way. This is my assistant. He will take all your requests from the company. We will approve your program. You don't have to deal with politics. He will deliver everything you need for this program, and we will judge the success of your program and tell you whether it was worth it or not. And if it's worth it, you have a job here for as long as you want to stay. Well, that was when Datsun was selling cars out of gas stations. Detroit wouldn't talk to me, and after 5 years, we got Detroit's attention in a major way. Bottom line is, from that point on, that's the only way it would ever work. Now, here again, there's been some things, disparaging things said about me, which I don't know, I ignore them, but it gets in the way of good ideas, and I'll explain that. Google my name, it comes up 100,000 times. Not a single negative there. Google my company, Fine Art Models, comes up 4 million times, and that's just in the United States. Google it in Germany, Google it in Japan, Google it all over the world. Not a single negative, not a single unhappy customer in 27 years, because we do things right. And we're perfectionists, and that's the bottom line. That's why the official model of Titanic sits on Water Street, and now the world is coming to Water Street. And that's great for the community. So bottom line is that I see things that are the obvious to me. So when we invested $500,000 in the theater, I had a dead tree here, and I had a tree cut off there. And we're going to light the marquee with dead trees. So I did some research, and I went to the DPW manager, who, by the way, you couldn't ask for a better DPW manager. This guy rocks. He is just good. He cares. And I said, so Mike, what's the deal? Well, we don't have the money, and the trees are too big. So I said, well, what do you mean you don't have the money? Well, say you don't have the money to plant them. Well, what's involved in doing it? And he said, well, we just this and this and this. So I did some research. And rather than reinvent the wheel, I went to a community that's already done it, Grosse Pointe. And I said, so you got these beautiful trees. Everyone says what a beautiful downtown there, and they're Cleveland pears. And they said, well, we went through a whole big rhubarb about trees, and we selected the Cleveland pear. Is it the best choice? It's the best choice for a boulevard, our boulevard situation. It's narrow, can be trimmed. But you got to understand that we're looking at these trees as flowers. After about 8 years, they have to be replaced because they get too big. After that period of time, any tree gets too big in a boulevard setting, they got to be replaced. And at $125 a piece, and they're going to last 8, 9 years, we have a set aside of $25 a year per tree. Not a big deal. And the businesses pay that. It's nothing. So at the end of 8 years, the tree's too big, bye-bye, put a new one in. And it works. Invasive? No. Talk to the DNR, and they said, no, it's not an invasive species in Michigan. And furthermore, it becomes an invasive species when it's planted in great numbers in a forested area. Downtown Water Street's not a forested area, nor is Grosse Pointe, and that's why they select them. Is there a perfect tree? No, there's no perfect tree. But it's one of the best trees, and it was bred to be a boulevard tree. So we selected that, and we said, now how can we do this? Well, go ahead and do it. We don't have any money, but if you want to put it in, go ahead. We put them in, so we'd have them there for the grand opening. So we talked to Mike, and I said, Mike, so what's the deal? He said, well, we don't have any money. Okay, so I said, well, you know, Tifa has money for economic development. This is certainly economic development, beautification of Water Street. Tell you what, why don't we go to Tifa? And we had this conversation at this council meeting last fall. We'll ask them to pay for the trees, and they can't pay for labor. And at that time, I said, I can get the businesses to pay for the labor. We'll use part-time employees and give them more work. That's creating jobs in the city. And we can do it under the auspices of the insurance, and we checked the insurance company for the city, and they said, that's fine. And Mike, you can oversee it. And it ended up by saying, nah, I don't want to go to business. I'll just pay the labor. Let's just do it. Let's just do it and get it done. And that's where it stopped. And then this spring, the trees came down, and yes, there was a poor job in explaining to people why the trees were coming down and what have you. I personally don't care what trees in there, but I think the beautification of Water Street is a very important thing. And this marked a new way of doing business. Private initiative joining with the city to accomplish objectives that the city doesn't have money for. So then we said, well, okay, what else? What else is important to this city? The beach. Everyone said the beach. In the last commission meeting, it was discussed. I was not in towns, but I watched it on the TV program and on the whatever it is. And the mayor said, yeah, it's just another one of those bucket brigade things where it's not going to raise much money. Now, you said that, Mayor, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You know, I'll let you off on that one because you're right. You're absolutely right. That's all it is. And then there were comments, well, is it for a beach attendant? Is it for a lifeguard? Well, that told me, and well, I have to say, a couple of you did speak up a little bit to say, well, I think it was for an attendant. Well, we got these buckets all over town, which means you guys never put money in the bucket, because if you had, you would have read what it was for. So I'm putting the bucket over here tonight, and before you leave, you put money in the bucket. It's your town too. So here it is. So, and your rest of you are encouraged to do that also. So bottom line is, I got mad for a few minutes, and then Laura just absolutely had a meltdown. And I said, come on, I'm older than you. I've seen this before. Don't worry about it. So we started this program, and I have to tell you, our goal was $10,000. Well, we had the $10,000 identified before we ever started the bucket thing. You know what the bucket thing is for? To find out how much community support there is for the beach. How important really is the beach? Because if everybody puts a buck in the bucket, if every resident puts $1 in the bucket, we're there. So then we reached out and said, well, you know, the bathrooms need plumbing. And we just put the word out, and we partnered with the Chamber of Commerce. Boy, was that a good idea. Because we needed electrical and we needed plumbing. And somewhere around here, I'll tell you. Scott Comet, electrician, stepped up. I'll do the electrical, no charge. Ames Plumbing said, hey, I'll do the plumbing for you, no charge. Community effort. Then I heard about a program, and I've had this in the back of my mind for a long time, a company called Patronosity down in Detroit. This is a company, it's a nonprofit, brilliant concept, and they go to MEDC and all those, the rest of those people that have grant money. And they get X amount of dollars in grant money into a giant pool, and then they vet where that money goes. And it's based on matching funds. If you got skin in the game, they'll match your dollar for dollar. So I went to them and I said, hey, we've got some projects up in Marine City that we're interested in. And I laid everything out for him, and I said, one of them's the speech program. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we'll match your $10,000. Well, we already had the $10,000. So we'll match it. Well, that's $20,000. And I said, well, you know, I'm reading in the Wall Street Journal and whatnot that more and more companies are backing away from donations for charity. Because if you give somebody something for nothing, it really is worth nothing. Port Huron's a classic example. Jim Atchison gave and gave and gave and gave, and one year he didn't do the Christmas decorations at a cost of $36,000, and he was chastised. He said, bye-bye. Well, what's Port Huron doing now? And then the Moore family in St. Clair. I don't have to say anything about that. Everybody knows that it's a gem that is going nowhere. But Marine City is a community. That's the first thing I realized when I was here. We've met some incredible people here, and it's a community. But unfortunately, it's been the silent majority, and the vocal minority are the only people being heard. And I think that's wrong. So we went to two corporations, and we said, we know you're not doing charitable contributions and all that, but guess what? We've got a community program here being run by the community. And we're just looking for matching funds. What do you think of the concept? Great concept. Absolutely great concept. If you got skin in the game, then we can support that. So now we got a potential of a program of $40,000 plus whatever's in the buckets. So we got a program that's potentially $50,000. So how long is that going to keep the beach running? Pretty long time. So consequently, we took the concept, patronately, we put them together with the treasurer. The treasurer will have to handle the money at the city level and everything. And I'm not chastising, I'm not complaining tonight. But it stopped there. Because the treasurer didn't know what to do with it. But never got back to me to tell me she didn't know what to do with it. So it sat there, and it sat there. Now, I don't know if we can resurrect it. I don't know if we can create that match now. I don't know if it's too late. But aside from that, the concept is extremely valid, and there's money out there to do anything this city wants to do as long as the city has skin in the game, as long as the community is involved and participating in it. So I'll leave this for people to read. I won't read it. But I just smiled because somebody in the Times Herald looked at this promotion and said, this is an idea we're stealing for other communities in the area. They figured it out. And I'll tell you tonight, and I saw this person walk in, and I can't divulge who it is or who they're from, but there's a representative from a major corporation here tonight to listen to the concept. Because they're looking at the same concept of funding, matching funds as opposed to just outright gifts, because the outright gifts are it's not working for them. So consequently, the beach promotion is underway. It's very successful so far. We know we'll reach our goal. The only question is we just don't know how much above that goal we're going to reach. The community's working together, the businesses are working together. And having said that, if you've got any questions that we have to answer, and if I can't answer it, I'll certainly get the answer and get back to you. So if you've got any questions about the promotion, now's the time. The other thing is, people say, well, one other thing. We don't know if it's a beach attendant or a lifeguard. Well, just like the trees, we did our homework before we selected the pairs. We also did our homework on the beach. We went to the former people that ran the beach, and we said, well, what about lifeguards versus attendants? You don't want lifeguards. Really? Why not? Because parents drop their kids off and they become babysitters. You swim at your own risk. Then we went to the insurance company and said, what about lifeguards? You don't want lifeguards. Swim at your own risk, it's a liability issue. And the combination of them being babysitters for parents who drop their kids off And the liability aspect, we said, we want an attendant that opens the bathrooms, oversees that, has a cell phone. If someone's smoking in the park, or breaking the rules, let's say, because I just was a bit chastised by someone said, well, all the parents of the kids in this town smoke, and they won't bring them to the beach unless they can smoke there. Well, I don't know. Look at the law. I don't care what happens. You people make the laws. But the point is that we want an attendant. And yeah, we want the bathrooms fixed, we want the electrical fixed, we want to dig up the sand that's in the beach, which is basically gravel, and put washed sand there, which is beach sand. And we want that place absolutely pristine and usable by anybody that comes to this town, because what other city has a beach at the end of the street? So then I went a step further and I said to this same company, Patronosity, I said, well, let me ask you, if we wanted to put a harbor in, and we've been working on that, and I think the city manager mentioned that, so that we can dock tall ships downtown and have transient docking in the Bell River, would you support that? And he said, and he looked things up, and he said, yeah, you know, we could support that up to $50,000. I said, well then, let me ask you, what about a youth center? What if we wanted to create a youth center for the youth in this region? He said, yeah, we could support that up to $50,000. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me that you put the citizens of this town together, along with a company like Patronosity, and corporations who have a vested interest in this because they have businesses here. You know what? This town can do anything it wants. It can fix every crack in every sidewalk. If they do it right, it's a whole new way of funding small town America. And it's now being noticed, and tonight's meeting will be discussed, and I think the bottom line is it's the way to go. So if you've got any questions about the beach now, I can take them, and I'd be happy to answer anything I can answer for you.
All right, a couple things and some of the stuff you mentioned. Part of the reason I'm going to start because you started with the trees.
Sure.
I know you went to the Tifa board, but the problem is this commission still needed to approve that. And that's why we needed to be in that loop. And that's why most of us found out on Facebook those were being cut down, and that's what kind of started that, okay? As far as the lifeguards, I remember Mr. Melly asking one meeting when you were here if we were going to have a lifeguard, and you indicated yes.
No, I never said yes. Go back to the minutes. I said we're raising money for an attendant, and we'll visit the issue of lifeguards if we have enough money.
All right.
That's what I said.
All right.
Right? Okay.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I've had a lot of people asking me questions about it. So one of the questions was somebody wanted to start their own fundraiser and then put the money into your fund. Can they do that on their own?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That came up. That already came up. And yes, one of the vocal minority approached me, and I said, well, and I talked to him, I said, well, let's have a discussion about this. You want to do your own crowdfunding. Mm-hmm. Well, don't you think that might create a little bit of confusion in the marketplace? And of course, whatever the answer was, I knew the answer, of course it would, but I knew why he was calling me, okay? So I said, do you think it would create, well, no, you don't want me to do it. No, I didn't say that. But I said, I have some concerns. You can't use our name. Why can't I use your name? Well, you see, you're not a 501c3, are you? No. You're personally collecting the money, right? Right. How many times you've been arrested for drugs and alcohol? Wouldn't answer the question. So, we let you go out and crowdfund with our name, and the money disappears, and who takes the heat? We do. No, you can't use our name. But go ahead. We'll take every penny you can raise, absolutely, and we'll get it matched. And that ended the crowdfunding.
Another question somebody asked me is, there's a $25 fee for the spaces at the beach for the chamber. Is that going to the beach fund or the chamber?
Everything's going to the beach fund.
Okay.
It's another way of raising money to get matched.
Okay, so if you do a beach attendant, how many do you think you can have, or is there any?
Two would be really ideal. Two would be really ideal, each with a cell phone with 911 on it. So that if there are any infractions on the beach, they call the police and the police informant. They are not there to be guards. They are there to be attendants. And if there's an issue, they call the police.
Do you anticipate 7 days a week, or what's the schedule?
It all depends on how much money is raised and what the city, and what the frequency you want and what the hours you select. We are not selecting that. We're just getting the beach open for use.
So you're going to use it for more than just the attendance? You want to do it for anything fixed up at the beach?
The money goes into an earmark account with the city, and it's earmarked for one reason, and that's to speak to the vocal minority. Well, they're going to take our money and they're going to use it in the general fund. No, it's earmarked for the beach. If there's a surplus at the end of the year, it rolls over into the next year for the beach. Yeah, there's got to be an end game. If the beach collapses and washes away and that money's sitting there, the city has to decide what happens to the money after 10 years or whatnot. We understand that. But the money that's raised for the beach goes to the beach.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is it's strictly to be used for projects at the beach.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we have a line item in there for that. Another thing is I see there was a lot of advertising costs that recently went to Tifa. I kind of priced out what you had. You could have done that for about $600. Is there?
Well, you know, Ms. Hendricks, I'd love to see your numbers, and then we'll show you our numbers. And you decide if our numbers are unreasonable. We've got quality, and that was an estimate. The 2,000 was based on the prices that we got. The prices we got. And the reason we asked for the $2,000 is so it wouldn't come out of the monies raised, and therefore that $2,000 that would stay there would be matched with another $2,000.
Well, I understand. I'm just saying it's a lot of money for a one-day advertising when I took your thing.
No, it's not one-day advertising just for the fundraiser. It's for the entire beach promotion that runs through the end of May.
Every item on here, I looked them all up and I went through the signs and I could do it for about $600. That's all I'm saying is I could be a little bit more frugal.
Then why don't we give the money back to Tifa and you fund it? We'll do that. If you can do it for $600, step up and do it. Step up and do it.
You told me you would never go to Tifa to ask for money.
I didn't go to Tifa. The Chamber of Commerce went to Tifa.
I'm just making a...
I didn't go to Tifa. The Chamber of Commerce went to Tifa. They have every right to address the Chamber of Commerce on that, not me.
I'm asking you the questions.
I'm answering your question. I'm answering your question.
I know, but you're getting so defensive.
Well, it's the way
it's not defensive.
Well, I'm sorry. It's just.
I'm answering your questions. Go ahead.
And we've got the Hendricks Inquisition starting.
No,
like everything else.
Mayor, no, it's okay.
Gary Coles, we've seen this when somebody wants to give the city a flower. We have to hear how the flower is going to poison the dogs.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared for this evening. Trust me.
Mr. Mayor, these questions, a lot of these are coming from people in the audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're coming from your constituents. I understand that, but I'll address that later. But go ahead. What else do you need?
That's it.
Okay.
That's all their questions I have from them.
Terrific. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Coase, you had indicated that there might be some potential issues that you haven't seen some follow through in the city specific to the beach project. I know, beach season is certainly up and coming. Is there anything that is still a missing link there from the city that you need from, city staff at this point for follow through that you've been waiting on?
Well, Mr. Simpson, I would like to tell you that I have that answer. I didn't think there was going to be any big deal accepting money for this fund from Patronicity. And that is still unresolved, I believe.
Well, I can get involved in this discussion because I've been working with Mr. Coase on this, and we're going to get it done. There was some confusion in the office, but I have talked to the people at Patronicity, and it's still a viable solution. All they need is one person from the city to act as administrator, and it could be Elaine, it could be any city official, any commissioner. Just someone that's an official from the city. Mr. Coase has already completed the application, so basically it's a matter of us assigning an administrator, then reviewing the application. The application is reviewed by Rob St. Mary, who's over there at Patronicity. Once he sees that, he submits that to the state, and he says he usually gets approval in about 3 days. So that's part of the business of tonight's meeting. We're going to assign a person to be administrator, because part of the problem in the office was, even though there's no cost to the city, no risk to the city, nothing really that could go wrong, it just wasn't something they felt comfortable doing without direction from the commission. And that's really what held it up.
And I understand that. And I understand that because it's a new concept for funding. And it's a brilliant concept for funding. But it goes back to my Japanese method of doing business. It's like, give me one person on the council to deal with, and we'll get it done. And they will take it back to you with all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And that's the way I think that the community can work in a very balanced and productive way with the city council, any city council, not just this one.
And I offered to be that person, and
Yes.
that's why I started making phone calls and communicating with the people in the office. So, you know, if this is what the commission wants, which I can't understand why they wouldn't want it, all we have to do is appoint an administrator. So, I mean, at this point, I would like to see a motion. Would you be willing to administrate that fund?
I'm willing to do that, or any commissioners. But also just wanted to add one other little thing, is that Jim Downey recommended we just do a resolution, just affirming
What the money's gonna be used for.
right.
Right, but for right now, just to get the ball rolling,
Yep.
we need an administrator. Are you willing to be the administrator?
yes.
Okay, so.
Make a motion that Elaine Levin be administrator of the fund for Patronicity.
Strongly support.
A motion support, any discussion? There's no money being spent here, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So you're the administrator. Let's get it going.
And in the future, where we have approved programs which involves community involvement and matching funds, I hope we can set up a procedure to facilitate that on a turnkey basis, and I think we can. And I realize it's new, but it's real, it's very real. And if we can save the two corporations to match those funds, if we get Patronicity in time, we'll do that, and we'll do our best. I have one final comment, and that is, I come to the council meetings, and I've been to a few, and I've watched it, and looking at the purpose of a city council is to do deliberations on issues involving the city. And each council person does their deliberations and reviews the issues at hand, and they come here, and they work together to make things happen. That's what a city council does. And for the most part, this city council does just that. Yet, I'm finding that the vocal minority is being fueled by something which I think is absolutely irresponsible. And that is, people come to this meeting, they vote on issues, and if a person votes no, they should be required to explain to the public why they voted no. If they vote yes for it, then they should be required to explain why they voted yes for it. That's important. But the most important thing is, when you people leave here, you don't go on social media and undercut everything that was done at the council meeting. And that is happening. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's not community. You're being an obstructionist, and you're dividing the community, and it's wrong, and it's got to stop. So, in my closing comments, make sure you put the money in the bucket, and I'm going to leave this on the table, and this is a list of everything that the Mariner has done and invested to support this city since August 1st of last year. Now, it's not for the people who know us. It's for the people that don't know us. And I would invite the vocal minority, if they've got a problem, come talk to us. We'll talk to anyone, and we do. And we enjoy talking to people. But this is aimed at that vocal minority. Here's what we've done. Put your list down as to what you've done for the city and include the number of times you've had police harassment calls made on you. Include your drug and abuse convictions and what have you. Include those in your paper, because that's a big part of who you are and what you're saying. And so with that, thank you for this evening. I love the city. You guys are doing a rock star job, and I'm happy. So thank you.
Go ahead, Gary. Commissioner Millie has a question.
I did want to ask you, yeah, lifeguards it is a concern for me, but what you're stating, the fact that they wouldn't support you if you...
Talk to your insurance company and see what they say. And tell me if you want to do it after you talk to your insurance company.
Okay, so it's liability, what you're saying.
That handled the lifeguards when the beach was open, and see if you want to be a babysitter for the kids that are dropped off by their parents. We don't want any part of that.
Okay. All right, because I didn't see that many parents dropping off their little kids.
Then yeah, that's really important that you talk to the people that ran it when it was open.
Really? Okay.
And I'm sure Grace Halpin will be happy because she's not very bashful. She'll tell you exactly what she thinks. I know.
Raise my hand, because why didn't you tell everybody who was on the bathroom committee?
In the rain, Grace went into the bathrooms to check them out. In the rain, I must say. And Laura.
So this picture gets on Facebook.
That's it.
Coming out of the shed, but everybody in town thought it was the bathroom.
That's it.
Lifeguards.
Yeah,
There was always 5 or 6 of us a day.
right.
1 lifeguard, 2 lifeguards. Cannot do it, will not do it. It's too much.
Okay.
To have the lifeguards there was always 6 of us, and we had shifts every day. We scrubbed, we swept, we kept everything, no smoking, no dogs, no other stuff. That went on after 8.
And were you babysitters?
I didn't mind that, so I can't say.
But were you?
Very good job. Well, yeah, but,
Yes, she was
yeah.
a babysitter.
But for anybody to ever think that fixing that beach is negative, they are nuts. Because that is the only asset in this town. It is not the trees, it's not the city hall, it's the river and the beach. That's why people come here. Besides wanting to see the hot lifeguard that got fired. But really.
But she will be back in the bikini and...
Yeah, but it needs to be a 5-piecer now. But really, people should not talk negative about it, because it's an amazing, we are the only ones. And all the years I worked there, people came from all over, and it's beautiful. I mean, it is.
Oh, yes, and we're not taking a tax write-off. Any donations we give, we do not, I've never taken a tax write-off in my life for a donation. Because you don't donate to take a tax write-off. So, there you go. Thank you. Any other questions?
To the next item on the agenda, which is the teen center discussion.
Kyle Pons.
That's all I have. So why don't you take over?
He's coming up.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, my name is Kyle Pond. I'm here to talk about River Rec Teen Zone. First, I would like to introduce you to a few people on our committee. Isaac Josephek, Chris Lowry, Justin Brack, and Trevor Fields. River Rec Teen Zone was created out of a necessity to create a safe and fun environment for teens to go in order to keep themselves out of danger and trouble. This effort was spearheaded by 3 students attending Riverview East High School who, through their own experiences, have made this effort their mission to help others. With the help of volunteers and the Marine City Parks and Recreation Department, we recently met with Living Faith Lutheran Church as a possible location for our center. We are hoping to launch in July of this year. We are in process of reviewing the application, insurance requirements, supervision requirements, and also mentors. Activities will be held to keep teens busy, such as basketball, video games, pool tables, air hockey tables, and many others. And in addition, we are launching our fundraising efforts with a school dance to announce the program, and we already have a sponsor. We are requesting the city to set up an earmarked account for these funds through Parks and Recreation to be used in the River Rec Teen Zone. Thank you for letting me speak. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Commissioner Simpson?
I don't have any questions, but I just felt like I should say a few things. Kyle contacted me a number of months ago when he first began this project, and Isaac's been on board. Another student, Charlie, was on board as well for a good deal of time. We've met many, many times. Commissioner Levitt's been there. Rec Director Lynn Zarowski's been a part of it. These guys have put a lot of work into this. I want to remind people there's a lot more people here than the first time they spoke, and getting up is not an easy thing to do. But I want people to know, I think it's very important to know that this is student-driven. They're the ones driving the bus here. This is a project that they do project-based learning, which is a very wonderful thing at Riverview East High School, and this is something that they come up with. That's an important thing to them, and they've come a long way, and they've done many, many things. They only get to speak a few minutes up here, but the behind the scenes work has just been a pretty tremendous thing, and I want to personally thank you guys for asking me to be involved in some way in that, and I know you guys have had some ups and downs with that, but I appreciate you guys sticking to it. Oftentimes we've been contacted by other groups. I want to remind people in the community that maybe knew a number of years ago, a lot of adults tried to make a run at a teen center and came up against funding and space availability, and that fell through, and that's a number of adults to just come up against something like that, and you guys thank you guys for that. It's something important, and I wish more people would do that. Find a need they feel passionate about and pursue that. So thank you guys.
I got some questions for you.
Well, not so much a question, comment. To echo what Commissioner Simpson just said, I was one of those adults that was trying to get it started a few years ago, and I know how tough it is. The funding, just everything you had to go through. So I applaud you guys for your effort. I think, like you said, being that it's teen-driven, they get a lot more support than some old guy like me going around trying to help them. I also want to let you know that in our efforts, we acquired a pool table, a vending machine, pop vending machine. I've got a bag full of basketballs up in my garage that I've been dying to get rid of, so that's cool. That stuff's stored in City Hall. And once you guys get up and running, we know where we're going to send it now.
Thank you so much.
Anyone? Commissioner Levin?
Yes, I make a motion that the city set aside an earmarked account to receive funds from I'm going to look at it, I'm sorry, the River Rec Teen Zone.
Support.
The motion is support. Any discussion? We had talked about a resolution, right?
Yep, we can work with them after the approval on putting
Right.
together a resolution. It would outline such things as who can access the money in the account and what to do for if there's a period of inactivity with the money, so.
Right, the resolution is going to come before us again, and we'll pass that, and what that'll do is ensure, gentlemen, that the money will go where you intend it to go. So the resolution will spell out, what we're going to do with the money, what it's going to be used for, and if it's way down the road when, there's no more activity in that fund, what happens to it? And that's all things you guys can have a part of, talk that amongst yourself and think about that, like say maybe 10 years after your fund has maybe gone dormant because nobody's working on it anymore, what would you like to see that money do? And you could, contact anybody here. We'll put that resolution together. Our city attorney usually puts those together so they're all legal. And we'll get that at like the next meeting. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So we have a motion on the floor, and we're not spending money again, so all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on to item 11C, which is medical marijuana dispensary moratorium.
I make a motion that we approve resolution to adopt the 180-day moratorium on the consideration of placement of medical marijuana dispensaries within the city. I'm sorry, resolution number 013-2016.
We have motion and support. Did you want to fill us in on the history on this a little bit?
There really isn't much to say. This is something that our attorney has worked with Algonac on preparing, given the state of the dispensaries and what's going on at the state level. This is something that, in essence, can put a pause button on anything going on in the city until the state level gets things figured out.
Commissioner Simpson?
We talked about dispensaries at length here over a number of years, but I just want to say that twice I went to the county, the Metropolitan Planning Commission has offered training on this. Last year they offered an update on that training. Pretty much what everyone agrees on in a legal aspect is that the laws are terribly written and they're just not enforceable, and it's just a terrible thing, and the state did us a disservice by writing anything on it. So I think this is a responsible thing to do because of that. You can't regulate it, you can't make informed decisions on either side of it. So I think this is a very responsible thing to do.
Just curious how the 180 days came up. Why not a year? Why not, you know?
I don't know if that's a statutory limit or not for a moratorium, but it is what Algonac did and how Jim Downey drafted it.
Okay.
I think it's fairly standard to do 180 days,
Boilerplate.
6 months. Yeah.
The letter that we have states that is greater than the time they expect to be tied up until the state gets their act together.
I think the state's gonna make some change.
Yeah.
Well,
during that time period.
that's what
That's
the
his
letter
letter.
states.
Yeah.
Do I have faith in it? Please don't.
Isn't that what we talked about a couple years ago?
Yes.
We actually changed the language.
I know, but
in
we
our
thought a
ordinance,
couple
we had to
years
change
ago
it
the
back.
state was gonna get straight on.
Oh, yeah, we've been talking about that for a long
Right.
time. Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this passed. Moving on to 11D, which is set public hearing date for the budget. What are our options?
The clerk has prepared the notice and setting it for May 19th, 2016 at 7 PM. That's in conjunction with our
Previous discussions.
regular meeting.
Yeah.
I believe per the charter, needs to be approved by the end of May. So this gives us time.
I make a motion that we set a public hearing on the fiscal year 2016-17 proposed budget for May 19th at 7 PM in the fire hall.
Motion and support. Commissioner Avery?
I just comment that we should remind the people who are going to hear this that we still have the public meetings prior to this, that it will be discussed. So this is
That's
final.
a very valid point that we make every year, because once we get to the budget hearing, all the work's been done. So if you want to be included in the process, you need to come to the workshops, because that's where the actual discussion.
26, 27, 28.
26, 27, 28 at 6 PM, and that is where the sausage will be made. So if you wait for the budget hearing, it's usually too late, because we've kind of done all the work and kind of made our mind up. So it's a good point. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is the proposed hearing date. Moving on to item 12A, which is disbursements including payroll.
Make a motion to approve disbursements, including payroll of $233,343.16. Support.
Wait, dual support. Who wants to actually be the one on the record?
Said it first.
All right. All right. Roll call, please. Oh, discussion on the, any discussion? Any questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Avery?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Lovett?
Yes.
Commissioner Melly?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Mayor Spatarjik?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have item 12B, which is preliminary financial statements.
Make a motion to approve the preliminary financial statements for March 2016.
Support. Motion and support. Any questions on the financial statements? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They have been accepted. City manager report.
Let's see. First of all, just letting you know, I attended Planning Commission, TIPA, Historical Commission, Fire Authority. I also went to a one-day conference on transportation asset management. Interestingly enough, I haven't had much experience with roads, so I wanted to go to this conference to learn a little bit of the language and just some of the general information. And one of the things that several of the presenters focused on throughout the meeting was that when you're looking at your assets, improving your roads and everything, you don't necessarily focus on the worst first. Why they were saying that is because you don't necessarily go and pave a road that's deteriorated. Sometimes it's a better allocation of your funds to repair a road that has a potential for longer life with those repairs than going and just doing a new road. You might wind up losing traction with the road without fixing it when you're spending all your time and money just fixing the worst road. So I just wanted to mention that. I found that pretty interesting. The last couple weeks we have been very tied up working on the budget. It's taken up a lot of time. Fortunately, we got it together. We got it out for you guys for a review. Obviously, the budget workshops next week are going to be very important, working on going through that department by department. Department supervisors, heads will be there, so they will be able to answer questions. At this point, I don't have a lot of in-depth knowledge of the specifics. I definitely picked up a lot, though, and fortunately, they'll be there to help answer questions. I had a representative from the Boy Scouts Exploring Program meet with me in the office. He's interested in rolling out the program in the Marine City area. One of the things that they do is they have meetings where they reach out to different types of careers, and one of the ones that he would like to include in the program is municipal. That would be something that potentially we could get some department heads and commission members involved. I don't really have any other specific information at this point, but it's something that may be coming in the near future. I've met with the owner of the Tagalong mobile home park, and he's starting to move forward with some improvements there, so hopefully we'll see that get cleaned up soon. I wanted to address the issue with the pedestrian crossings. We have been working on that. The attorney, I provided him with some language. He's working on that. Hopefully we'll have that soon. Parking, I actually, interestingly enough, had the chair of the chamber stop in my office today and inquire about if we could put together some type of map for parking. So I'm going to work with the county, see if that's something that they could do, maybe give me a price or something. I know that we could probably have someone do something basic with just GIS and some type of draw software or something. The county has all of the GIS mapping. It might be something very easy for them, so I'm going to explore that.
Well, we're talking about parking. I don't remember how many meetings ago, but Mike, you came to the podium and you said you really didn't think there was a parking problem, just a sign problem. And we did give you the okay to put some signs in. Did we ever get any put in, or?
No. My fault for that, I got it right here.
What are you doing, going around cutting down trees or something?
Well, no, because that was brought up, you know, at the podium a couple times too, and I'm just thinking, geez, I thought, you know, we already kind of talked about that.
Exactly right, now it's right here where I won't forget it, and I'll staple it right there.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay, I was pretty much done, but, you know, speaking of park.
SEMCOG's another source for that sign.
For mapping, yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, also SEMCOG, I've reached out to them again to try to find some mechanism for assistance to really take a look at the parking and the circulation flow of downtown. I was told at one point in time, not too long after I started, from a SEMCOG representative that being members of SEMCOG, there are certain benefits and things that they'll do for us, and this was something that was mentioned, that they can help with some of these transportation issues in the city, and I'm still trying to get that to happen, so that, I think that's about all I have.
Right here, you gotta talk to her. She's our rep.
I have talked to her, so we're still working on it.
You done?
Yep.
Mr. Mel, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm going to be brief.
had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Question for me?
Excuse me, but you can, well, I just wanted to mention, along the parking and the various situations we have, I'm sure in all the things she's had to dig through that the city manager probably hasn't been brought up to speed on the problems of the trucks and the parking down on Water Street and the hassles that can cause as far as walkways or putting in a handicap zone and so on. And I don't know that we resolved it. It's just that exists that we have to be real careful of. We found out that that's a international crossing and...
Yep. I'm familiar with a lot of that detail, and that is something that,
Okay.
looking at the area, is a piece of the puzzle that needs to be considered. That, and I understand the bridges don't necessarily allow for the weight of those trucks going through there, and I understand that people don't like having the trucks looping around onto Market or Main Street. So there's a lot of factors that go into that type of plan. I don't know how far I can get with SEMCOG. When we start working on the master plan, I think that that's something that can probably be discussed. Potentially, that's something, maybe even in conjunction with the trees and beach and everything that we have going on, we might want to consider having a public meeting, open house or something, to kind of discuss a lot of these issues going on with the area, because there have been so much activity and changes. That's it.
Answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Briefly, I wanted to say I commend Gary 100% finding fundraising. I'm all for making small communities work. And I also like the idea about how I always liked about Grosse Pointe. And one thing about Grosse Pointe is trees. They're very concerned about trees, and they have arborists and one thing or another. And I also realize too, if a citizen decides to cut down a tree, they're planting another tree. They're that concerned about having trees in their community. And even for myself, I do love trees. I couldn't wait for the city to plant trees. I went ahead and on my own expense, because I know the value of a tree around my own house and neighborhood, that it does add value and character to your town. I am very concerned about different things with the beach, and being a lifeguard for myself in my youth, I always took an interest when I seen kids by themselves, but as a citizen, I always looked out. I don't care if it's my duty as as citizen of Marine City, if I saw something that wasn't right, I'm not going to sit back and let somebody drown. I know the responsibilities. If you go out and grab a kid and they drown and under your care, you're responsible. But I'd rather do the obvious and try to save a life than to have the negative. I feel as though as a citizen, that's our responsibility to help out when there's a need. I also felt as though I do know there is liabilities and insurance risks, but there's also a job for the young people, and it adds a little bit more security to the beach. I'm strongly in favor of having lifeguards back, and but to having the tenants, well, that's better than nothing. But I'm also very supportive. I like to see our beach grow, and I think that is a great asset to our town. And I do want people to support the effort. And Gary, you're doing one heck of a job for our community. It's obvious since you opened up the Titanic display in one thing or another, our town has just jumped a mile. It's never been spoke of as much as having that display in our town, and we're totally grateful of you participating and investing into our town. And I commend you 100% and finding out different fundraisers to help out people, because a lot of times people want to start a business and they don't know how to, and you've given a lot of incentives that when people believe in you, they will support you. And it's very vital, and I'm proud of our town, and I feel as though that I could clearly say it's our town and it's my town, and I want to see it strive. And I just commend the different things and the efforts of the citizens stepping forward and making it possible. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Gary, I'd also like to thank you. St. Clair's loss was Marine City's gain, obviously, because the things you brought to this town, the plans you have, despite the negative comments from the usual people that we have to listen to, you stood the high ground and said, you know, as a community, pull together, let's make this work. Congratulations and thank you. I also want to say thanks to the young men that are initiating the youth center. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. I was trying to help a committee get that started a few years ago, and we couldn't pull it off. There are opportunities which, once they get started, I'd like to talk to them about if they want to expand. I met with the district Boys and Girls Club. He'd be a district representative out of Chicago. He actually came to Marine City when we talked to him about trying to get a youth center started. And he said, really, to get affiliated with Boys and Girls Club is not that difficult. You basically have to have a sustainable club for a few years. You can join with them. You can take advantage of all the nationwide programs that they have to offer. And it does some tremendous stuff. We went to visit the youth center up in Flint, and just they took a school that was basically abandoned, and one room at a time started renovating it, got a program going, got the interest of the Detroit Pistons, who then jumped on board and helped them really take it, you know, because they saw what it was doing for the kids in Flint, and it really took off from there. And the guy said, you know, anybody could do this. A little bit of organization, a lot of community support, and it can happen. So I'm excited to see these guys coming in here making this a go. Thanks.
Love it.
Thank you. When I entered tonight and saw the cars in the lot and all the people here, it was like,
panic.
Okay, exactly. What is going on? And it's been the most positive meeting that I have attended since I have been a commissioner. So thank you for coming out and being positive about this community. Thank you to Gary Coes and Laura for all they've done. Verton's, I'm looking forward to seeing that beautiful hotel up. The rendering in the paper is awesome. So, thank you for believing in this community enough to continue, besides your theaters, to continue to invest here. And shame on this city. 30% of the voters showed up to vote. 30%. That isn't even 1/3. It's less than 1/3. 70% of the people in this community did not bother to come out and vote. And yet we see big no signs all over. No what? Vote no on everything? That's about what some people do. The negative obstructionists in this community, everything is no, no, no. And that's what that sign says. That's all it says, vote no. The first time I saw it, it said, vote no on what? I mean, there's any number of issues that are going around. It's just such a negative presentation for this community. We all need to step up and be heard. We can't let a small minority lead this city and get away with what they've been getting away with. So this is just fired me up tonight. Thank you very much to those who came and supported. And also the, Facebook. I do not go on Facebook. I do not believe that's the place to have a nuanced conversation of a complicated issue. You can't ask questions. There's no give and take. You don't share information, and that's the vehicle that a number of people have chosen. Come to commission meetings. This is the longest meeting we've had in maybe for the second time. And it's been meaningful. There's been a lot of give and take, and we've heard what people wanted, what people have said. We've had discussions here. This is what community government should be, and thank you for tonight.
Commissioner Hedrick.
All right, just like a note for the fire department, they're looking for new hires. If anybody would be interested in being a fireman, you can contact our chief here at the fire hall. They're down a few, so they're looking for some young people to join. I think one of the things we're missing on this fundraiser is that it's May 21st from 10 to 3 at the Nautical Mile Park. So we need to keep reiterating when it is so everybody can come. One of the things I want to say is I'm not against the beach. I love the beach, and I have no problem with this. But you have to understand, these jobs are difficult, and when people come to you and they ask you to give their questions, I'm obligated to do that. I have other people to represent. So you have to know that a lot of people have to have a voice, not just one side. And I think, so one of the things that I'm going to say here is, why is it that some people think that if you have a difference of opinion, it's negative? I've heard this ridiculous theory for years. If everyone in politics all thought and voted the same way, we wouldn't need boards or commissions. Sometimes you can learn from a person's different views or facts. And I won't stop doing my job as a commissioner because someone disagrees with my information or thinks it's negative. That's their opinion, and they're entitled to that opinion. Communities all over this country are divided on issues. That's a normal thing in life. But if someone thinks they can solve those divisions across America, then they should go on the road and help the country out. The citizen once told me that if I voted no and everyone else voted yes on a topic, that I should then support the yes vote because I lost that vote. I might have lost the vote, but it doesn't mean I should turn around and support something that I don't believe in or the people that I represent don't believe in. I don't understand why people are so irrational about politics. Everybody deserves a voice. And so maybe the questions are harsh sometimes that I ask, but I'm asking those for people in the community that sometimes don't feel comfortable asking those questions. And the whole point tonight was to ask questions. So you have to understand, that's what, it's tough, but it's going to be done. And I'm not going to stop asking the questions for people if they come to me and they either want me to read their letters, which I've done at other boards, or they want me to ask those tough questions. I'm going to do it. And it might be uncomfortable for some people, and I'm sorry about that, but it's part of the job. Thank you.
Mr. Avery.
Well, in the interest of brevity, I will keep this short. we did have a very small minority make the decision on how we are going to run the city for the next year. So we hope that people will come to the workshop and be able to direct how we work with this smaller pie. We will need help as to prioritizing. Thank you.
Okay. Originally, I had nothing written down, but a lot of this is in response to items we've heard this evening, so I want to touch on a few. They're a bit all over the place. Someone had mentioned about our code official and maybe some lack of success there. That individual has since put in the resignation. They found it not a fit for them. But I also want to, more importantly, remind people that that posting was put up for months and months and months, and we even had our code official who retired kind of contacting all their individuals and working their network, and we only came up with 3 individuals, and that was it. And so it's not like it's a position, much like our assessor and those types of things, that there's tens of thousands of people looking to get into. So just something to keep in mind. It's a difficult position to fill, is one of the things that I want to get across. And it's a position that once you have it, it's a bit difficult to come up to speed on where you're at in the community, and that takes just a bit of time. The parking issue, one of the things that was brought up before is parking on Water Street, but I want to speak specifically to the zoning. I've been either the chair of the planning commission or the commission delegate to that for almost 8 years now. That comes with a lot of training involved if you do it proactively. I want to remind people that there's a specific zoning designation for downtown, and one of the big things of the designation down there is we cannot attach parking mandates to new businesses, and that's something we've heard a lot. You cannot require them to have it. Zoning laws are very specific, and one of the things that they teach you in planning is that you have to apply those laws fairly to everyone. And so we can't just say this business has to find a way to create 8 spots and that business doesn't, and all these types of things. So that's well laid out in the law, and I think that's an important distinction. I've been walking a lot of the city for the last few years. There's hardly ever a problem, as many of others have said, up the block or on side streets. I believe, signage would really help, and perhaps some striping, if research shows that. But just want to remind people of that the zoning designation, there's some legal things there. We can't just outright say, the businesses who improve or create new businesses, we can't just require them to find parking. It's a difficult thing because in order to find parking, you have to find land. So that only comes up one way, is you buy homes and destroy them and pave a lot there, which doesn't garner you many parking situations. But just when people just say it's a parking problem and we have to find a solution, the only way to do that is to reutilize the property that you have. We can't make more land. And so just to keep that in mind, not to further complicate the issue. I do something that I don't normally do. Most of you guys know that I'm manager of the East China Schools Performing Arts Center, and I don't think once in my tenure anywhere in the city that I've ever, advocated that. I like to think I keep both separate. But Marine City High School has a production of Les Miserables that's going on right now. I directly came from work to here. I'm proud of those kids, and I think just some numbers here. This community has been wonderfully supportive of football. It's great. I played football. I did theater. I did band in school. But I think people oftentimes don't realize the impact of that. Out of about 400 or so students at the high school, we have 108 students involved in this production. And I think if you just look at numbers, people don't often realize that. We're in a community now that, thanks to the Vertons and many others, there are a lot more arts opportunities available for recreation, for those that just like to go see that, or for those like the East China Community Band and others that like to participate in that. And I think that's a wonderful thing to also celebrate in our community. But actually I had some numbers on that this time around. I thought that was something that's very much worth pointing out, and I encourage anyone who's never went to any of these venues and maybe never been to a musical or a show to give it a try. We were selling tickets like crazy today. I gave 6 tours of our facility. Has been there almost 13 and a half years now, and they've never come in, and hopefully they're hooked now. I got positive response. So
I'm hooked.
yeah, and we appreciate it. One last thing, just again thanking everyone who came out this evening. It was respectful. It was great. A lot of ideas were tossed around, but oftentimes I've always found it difficult, and I've said this before, we're up here to represent people in our community, and none of us does this to make any money, and we certainly don't do it because we have too much free time. But it's very difficult to represent people that don't reply when we reach out, that don't step and be heard, and it's nice to see a lot of new faces in here tonight. We often don't have that, and I just want to thank those that did for the first time. Anyone that might be watching from home that hasn't reached out or maybe attended a meeting or watched more meetings online, encourage you to do more of that. That just helps the entire process. It can't be a one-sided process.
Okay, it's my turn. See, that's what's tough. After 6 people talk, then it's your turn. There's nothing left usually. But I do have this. I have an announcement that our city clerk gave me to read. So we need a library board member. They meet quarterly, must love the library. Liaisons between the library and the city commission, that's their job. Applications are online and at the city offices. Apply to the city clerk, Ms. Christine Baxter. How's that?
Very well done.
Do we have any other openings on boards that need to be filled right now?
We're looking at creating some possible alternate spots, and I'll bring that back to you, probably when we do our June appointments.
I think ZBA, we still need.
We need, yeah. We have a situation on ZBA where 2 of the members, it's a very small board, go to Florida for the winter, so.
Yeah, it's tough.
She has to call us personally. Are you going to be there tonight?
Yeah.
You better be there tonight.
Well, there's the cost involved in advertising,
Right.
and we don't.
So you better get some alternates on her.
Or we
Yeah.
can't have a meeting.
All right, so now that official business is out of the way, I'd like to thank Mr. Coase for coming to the meeting tonight. He did a wonderful job during those presentations. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him since he's come to town, and just in case anyone has any doubts, this isn't about making money. He's a very unique person. He's doing this out of love for our city, so you got to listen to him. He's a genius when it comes to marketing, and he's done great things for the city, and anybody that would oppose him is opposing good and me. And we do hear an awful lot of negative stuff, and it can get very loud, and a couple of people with social media and everything can generate a lot of noise and disturbance, and especially when they use misinformation, which is typically what happens on Facebook. Half-truths, some of the truth, part of the truth, all designed to enrage people and just create havoc. And it's an obstructionist type tactic, and it was wonderful tonight seeing people that felt differently, that were happy with the development of this town, and we need more of that, because the only way to stop the disruptionist voices, yes, they're entitled to their opinion, but they get way more press, way more attention than a lot of other people. So we need support, we need your help, so I appreciate everyone that came out tonight. Feel free to come to every meeting, because we love having you. And we have wonderful business people. We're so lucky to have Vertons and like Melissa at the fish company. You can walk up and down the street, go up Broadway, go all the way up Broadway to the Back Porch Antiques and see my buddy, Robert Ahee. There you go, Bob. He kind of feels like he's kind of out there sometimes. So, the business community needs to think about that. How can we start drawing out, reaching out to all the way down Broadway, hitting out to Parker, maybe some kiosks. I thought, maybe get some high school kid who wants to make some money, get one of those rickshaw things, maybe take people around. I mean, yeah, horse and buggy, something, because, we've got some good, you can head down Broadway and right up Parker, Marine City Grill. I went in there the other day, I was out walking for exercise, and I ate like a 100-pound hamburger. It was delicious, but, kind of defeated the purpose of the walk, but, so go in and see them. It's just a wonderful town. We have wonderful business people. It's a great place to be. And I had one more thing to say. I walked down the street, I was talking to the business people. It was about the trees, but I heard like so many positive and good comments, not patting you on the back kind of stuff, but ways to improve things. And one of the things that was brought up was getting some way to slow down traffic at the crosswalks, maybe with some pedestrian signs in the middle, something like that. Traverse City, a few other cities do that, because I guess at sometimes people aren't being real considerate, and maybe an elderly person's trying to cross the street and they're having a hard time. So I heard those kind of comments. I heard bumped into a real estate agent that talked to me about Pioneer grants. I never heard about them, but something to look into, because what they do is they help renovate low-income housing, and it's a way to do that, and they're called Pioneer grants. So just taking a walk down the street, down our business area, you can learn all kinds of stuff. So love this town. It's doing great. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.